On a chilly Halloween night in the eerie town of Willowbrook, a father named Tom stood at the threshold of an adventure he'd been eagerly awaiting. His son, Timmy, just turned 5, was dressed as Dracula, his little heart pounding with excitement. Tom had adorned their house with cobwebs, jack-o'-lanterns, and a giant inflatable ghost, all in celebration of Timmy's very first Halloween. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the world was transformed into a realm of shadows and secrets. The streets were lined with houses adorned in sinister decorations, and the electricity of Halloween was palpable. Father and son set off, their footsteps echoing through the night. Their first stop was the ancient home of Mrs. Henderson, where the porch light flickered ominously as she handed Timmy a candy apple. A sudden gust of wind howled, raising goosebumps on their skin. The next destination was the notorious Peterson mansion, a place that sent shivers down the spines of even the bravest souls. They climbed the creaky stairs to the front door, where a figure, Mrs. Peterson, adorned in a witch's hat, handed Timmy a handful of candies. Just as they turned to leave, they heard eerie whispers from inside and caught a glimpse of glowing eyes lurking in the shadows. Undeterred, they moved on. A mysterious fog rolled in, obscuring their vision and leaving them disoriented. The street transformed into a shadowy labyrinth. Timmy clung tightly to his father's hand. In the distance, they noticed a faint glow from the Whitman house, an old Victorian mansion. The door slowly creaked open, revealing a tall, shadowy figure dressed as the Grim Reaper. Fear gripped them as they hesitated, but the figure handed Timmy a treat, and they hastily retreated. Yet, as they ventured further, they realized the cloaked figure was following them. Panic set in as they quickened their pace, but the relentless pursuit continued. Heavy footsteps echoed ominously, pushing them into a dead-end alley. Terrified and trapped, they were on the brink of despair when the Grim Reaper revealed himself to be Timmy's mischievous older cousin, Alex, playing a Halloween prank. Laughter filled the alley as the fog dissipated and tension eased. With racing hearts, Tom and Timmy resumed their journey, knowing that Halloween night was full of suspense and surprise. They approached the ominous, darkened house at the end of the street, ready for the mysteries and adventures that awaited them, but they couldn't anticipate the chilling suspense that lay ahead. On that ominous Halloween night, cloaked in shadows, the enigmatic figure, lurked in the corners of Willowbrook, my presence shrouded in eerie mystery. The town knew me as the Grim Reaper, and fear was my companion. My eyes, hidden behind the abyss of my hood, followed the unsuspecting father, Tom, and his young son, Timmy, as they ventured into the abyss of the unknown. I watched with delight, as their anticipation intensified with each echoing footstep, their mirth turning into apprehension. The decorations at Tom's house were mere invitations to the darkness I embodied. Jack-o'-lanterns flickered eerily, and the inflatable ghost beckoned them toward their inevitable encounter with me. As they set off into the ink-black night, their laughter was but a distant memory, replaced by the disconcerting silence that followed them. Their first stop was the dwelling of Mrs. Henderson, her frail silhouette serving as a preamble to their descent into my realm. With the handover of the candy apple, the trap was set. A wicked howl of the wind sent a shiver down their spines, and my presence grew more palpable. The Peterson mansion, a place of infamy, awaited them like a spider's lair. The creaking stairs and the foreboding, witch-like figure, Mrs. Peterson, were mere puppets in my sinister show. Their dread mounted as they heard the eerie whispers, for it was my voice that sent chills down their spines, and my glowing eyes that watched from the shadows. They moved on, oblivious to the trap closing around them. The mysterious fog, a creation of my malevolence, enshrouded them in the darkness. They lost their way, Timmy clinging desperately to his father's hand. The world turned into a labyrinth, and I reveled in their disorientation. The Whitman house, with its faint glow, was the next act in my dark play. As the door creaked open, revealing my figure as the Grim Reaper. Their fear was the culmination of my art. The sinister suspense was nearly unbearable, and the sweet taste of trepidation coursed through me as they accepted my candy, never suspecting my true intentions. I followed them as they ventured deeper into the night. Their panic, their heavy footsteps, and their dread fueled my satisfaction. I led them to a dead-end alley, a place of no escape, where their terror peaked. Their despair was my masterpiece, and I was on the brink of revealing myself when, suddenly, it was time to end my malevolent charade. Laughter filled the alley as the fog lifted. Their relief a mere illusion. Timmy's older cousin, Alex, emerged from the shadows, his Halloween prank complete. Their hearts still raced, but I, the Grim Reaper, retreated into the shadows, content with the fear I'd instilled. As Tom and Timmy continued their journey, the mysteries and horrors of Halloween night continued to unfold, but they were oblivious to the malevolence that lurked just beyond their sight. The suspense was unrelenting, and the true horrors of the night remained concealed, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Timmy had grown up, but he could never forget that fateful Halloween night from his childhood. It haunted him, and the mere thought of Halloween sent shivers down his spine. But now, he was faced with a daunting challenge, taking his own child out for their very first Halloween. A lifetime of memories and fears came rushing back. As he prepared for the night, it was a gloomy October evening, and Timmy's young son, Danny, was eager to don his adorable Dracula costume, just as his father had done so many years ago. The anticipation in Danny's eyes mirrored the excitement that Timmy once held, but it was also marred by his father's lingering dread. The evening began innocently enough as they stepped out into the chilly autumn air. The wind whispered through the trees, the leaves rustling like phantom whispers. The streets were adorned with eerie decorations, just as he remembered from his childhood. The jack-o'-lanterns flickered menacingly, and the shadows seemed to dance to an eerie tune. They approached the house where Mrs. Henderson once resided, and the sight of a candy apple sent a chill down Timmy's spine. He had hoped to shield Danny from the horrors of Halloween, but the past had a way of creeping back. He smiled weakly as Danny accepted the treat with glee. The night was still young, and Danny's laughter was infectious. The atmosphere was filled with a mixture of excitement and dread, much like the anticipation before a storm. As they continued their journey, Timmy couldn't help but glance back, half expecting the sinister figure of the Grim Reaper to follow them once again. The Peterson mansion loomed ahead, a place of darkness and secrets. The creaking stairs and the mysterious figure that handed them candy seemed surreal, as if the past was being replayed. The eerie whispers from the house filled the air, and Timmy's heart raced. He couldn't shake the feeling that the house was watching, waiting to ensnare them once again. They continued down the shadowy streets, and suddenly, an ominous fog rolled in, obscuring their surroundings. Panic welled up within Timmy as the world transformed into a nightmarish labyrinth. Danny clung tightly to his father's hand, mirroring Timmy's grip on his own father's hand from years past. The fog enveloped them like a sinister shroud, and the dread intensified. The neighborhood seemed to have transformed into a haunted maze, and the streets were no longer familiar. Timmy couldn't escape the memories of that Halloween night that had shaped his phobia. The Whitman house appeared in the distance, its glow a beckoning siren call. The Grim Reaper's figure that had haunted Timmy's past was now just an ordinary person, handing out treats. He sighed with relief as they accepted the candy, hoping that this Halloween night would be different. Danny's joy was a stark contrast to Timmy's lingering dread, but the familiar feeling of being pursued returned as they continued their journey. Timmy couldn't shake the sense that something dark was lurking behind them, mirroring the dread that had haunted his own Halloween past. His heart raced as they quickened their pace, the heavy footsteps echoing ominously. It felt like a nightmare repeating itself. They reached a dead-end alley, the same one that had trapped him and his father years ago. Timmy's fear reached a crescendo, and he knew he couldn't allow Danny to experience what he had. The alley was a sinister trap, just as it had been on that night that had scarred him. Timmy turned to Danny, his voice trembling as he confessed, "We have to leave, Danny. This night it's not what it seems, Danny, his innocent eyes wide with confusion, reluctantly agreed to go home. As they retreated, the fog lifted, but Timmy couldn't shake the feeling that something had been watching them. The past was never far behind, and the horrors of that Halloween night had resurfaced. Timmy and Danny arrived home, shaken and anxious. Timmy couldn't help but feel that they had narrowly escaped something malevolent, and he knew that Halloween would never be the same for him. Now, he lay awake at night, fearing what lurked in the darkness. The anxiety never left him, and he couldn't escape the sinister feeling that his past would come back to haunt him once again. The story of that Halloween night remained unfinished, and the suspense of the present left him paralyzed with dread. The echoes of that Halloween night had reached into the present, and Timmy knew that his fears would never truly be put to rest.